space is mind-bogglingly big, but infinitely terrifying as well. There are hundreds of millions of meteorites just in our own solar system that can destroy Earth, but it's actually not worse than vampire stars that suck energy from other stars, or gamma rays that can annihilate anything in its path. In short, space is as scary as hell, and here we'll prove it to you. So, let's get started with coronal mass ejections. You don't have to look deep into space to find something terrifying. One of the most dangerous ones sits right in the center of our own solar system. Without it, sure, life on Earth wouldn't exist. But the sun is far from the glowing ball it appears to be from down here. In reality, it's an active nuclear reactor always boiling with unimaginable energy. And sometimes, it explodes. One of the most tenacious ways it does that is through something called a coronal mass ejection, or CME. This happens when enormous amounts of plasma and magnetic energy suddenly blast away from the sun and shoot into space. And these aren't small bursts. A single eruption can throw billions of tons of superheated particles across the solar system at lightning speeds. If one of those clouds happens to be aimed at Earth, it can reach our planet in less than a day. And when that storm of charged particles slams into Earth's magnetic field, it creates an intense solar storm, which is not good at all. And the worst part is, this isn't just a theory. Back in 1859, astronomer Richard Carrington saw a huge flash from a cluster of sunspots. After that, less than a day later, Earth was hit by the most powerful solar storm ever seen. Now, imagine that same event strikes our modern technology-dependent world. In fact, something very close almost did back in 2012 when a solar eruption, nearly as strong as the Carrington event, blasted out from the sun and missed Earth. Now, if our planet had been in the wrong place at the wrong time, the story of our modern world might look very different today. Or there might not be a story at all. Black holes. We still have no idea what truly happens inside them, but what we do know is how they begin. When a massive star dies, it collapses under its own gravity. The entire star caves in until all that mass is squeezed into an unimaginably tiny point called a singularity. At that point, gravity becomes so powerful that nothing can escape it, not even light. That's why black holes appear completely invisible. And there are not one, but different kinds of black holes. The smaller ones are called stellar mass black holes, which are usually between 3 and about 1,000 times the mass of our sun. But the true monsters are the supermassive black holes, weighing millions or even billions of suns. One of them sits in the center of our own galaxy, called Sagittarius, a star. It contains about 4 million times the mass of the sun and slowly pulls surrounding matter toward it. But it's nothing compared to the black hole called TON 618, whose mass is estimated to be around 40 billion suns. And the other one is a quasar known as SDSSJ 0100 plus 2802, one of the brightest objects in the early universe. That quasar shines with the energy of roughly 420 trillion suns, powered by a supermassive black hole whose existence still puzzles scientists. So there are also rogue black holes that drift through space rather than staying anchored at the center of galaxies. And the truth is, we still do not fully understand what a black hole actually is. Gamma ray bursts, astronomers call them gamma ray bursts, or GRBs, and they're among the most dangerous explosions ever seen in the universe. We mean, in just a few seconds, one of these blasts can release more energy than our sun will produce in its entire 10 billion year lifetime. And the brightness alone is almost impossible to imagine. Trillions upon trillions of times stronger than the sun. These bursts happen when something catastrophic strikes a star. A massive star collapsing into a black hole can trigger one. Two neutron stars crashing together can do it as well. Even a black hole swallowing a neutron star can unleash the same kind of blast. But the frightening part is how they travel. Gamma-ray bursts don't explode evenly like normal supernovae. Instead, they fire tight beams of radiation through space at nearly the speed of light. If Earth ever sat directly in that beam from a few thousand light years away, there would be no warning. Within moments, the ozone layer could vanish, exposing the planet to lethal UV radiation from the sun. Scientists even suspect a burst like this may have affected Earth long ago. The Boötes Void. The Boötes Void, or the Great Nothing, is far creepier than black holes. With those, at least you know something is not right, but with this, you simply can't. There's almost nothing there at all. Astronomers discovered it in 1981 when Robert Kirshner and his team were mapping galaxies using redshift measurements. In the direction of the constellation Boötes, galaxies suddenly seemed to vanish. That data showed a gigantic hole in the large-scale structure of the universe. The void stretches about 330 million light-years across, and its center lies nearly 700 million light-years from Earth. In a region that huge, astronomers expected to find around 2,000 galaxies, but they found only about 60. Now, to put that into perspective, our Milky Way alone contains hundreds of billions of stars. Yet this enormous region is almost empty. Scientists call these areas cosmic voids, but exactly how something this massive formed remains uncertain. Zombie stars. We all know that whatever is alive has to die, but believe it or not, it's not always true. We mean, zombification wasn't limited only to earthbound creatures demanding brains. Astronomers have actually found stars that seem to come back after death. Normally, when a star dies, it explodes in a massive supernova. The blast briefly shines brighter than entire galaxies before the star turns into things like neutron stars, black holes, or simple clouds of cosmic debris. That is how the life of a star is supposed to end. But sometimes, it doesn't. One star called IPTF 14HLS left scientists puzzled. The star first appeared to explode back in 1954, and everyone assumed that was the end of it. Decades passed, and the event was forgotten. Then, in 2014, scientists detected the same object erupting again as a bright supernova. Astronomer Ieir Arkavi, who is a NASA Einstein postdoctoral fellow working with the University of California, described the star's behavior as one of the biggest mysteries he had ever seen. And without a doubt, he was right. Galactic cannibalism. If human cannibalism sounds gross to you, then galactic cannibalism might be even worse. As we know, galaxies are not frozen in place the way they look from Earth. They move, drift, and collide. When a massive galaxy encounters a smaller one, gravity slowly begins to pull the tiny system apart. Stars, gas, and dust are stretched into long streams before being absorbed into the larger galaxy. Astronomers call this process galactic cannibalism, and it is happening all over the universe. In fact, one of the closest examples sits right in our cosmic neighborhood. The Andromeda Galaxy already consumed a smaller companion galaxy about 2 billion years ago. It is currently moving toward our galaxy at a speed of about 110 kilometers per second. Astronomers expect the two galaxies to collide in maybe 4 to 5 billion years. When that happens, both galaxies will begin tearing into each other. But luckily, we still have a long time. Hearn the Higgs boson doomsday. Every single culture or religion on Earth has its own version of how the world might end. Most of them involve explosions and fire. But one of the scariest end of the universe ideas did not come from mythology. It came from physicists, and it revolves around what they called the Higgs boson. According to scientists, including Stephen Hawking, the Higgs field might not be ideally stable. If that is true, then somewhere in the universe, a tiny fluctuation could trigger a deadly event. Imagine a bubble of altered Higgs energy suddenly forming in space. Inside that bubble, the laws of physics would totally change. Atomic forces could shift, particles might behave differently, and matter as we know it could fall apart. The bubble would expand outward at nearly the speed of light, rewriting the rules of reality wherever it passed. And the worst part is that we would never see it coming, as by the time anyone noticed, everything would already be gone. Killer asteroids and comets. If you think the scariest things in space are the ones we can't see, well, think again. Sometimes the real danger is something as simple as a rock, and space is full of them. Millions of asteroids and comets move through the solar system. Some are small, but others are big enough to wipe out the entire Earth. They don't need strange physics to destroy a planet. All they need is gravity and terrible timing, and our planet has already learned that lesson once. About 66 million years ago, an asteroid around 10 kilometers wide hit the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact caused global fires, tsunamis, and a cloud of dust that blocked sunlight for years. Plants died, ecosystems collapsed, and the dinosaurs disappeared. The unsettling part is that objects like that are still out there. Astronomers track many deadly asteroids, but not all of them. In 2013, a meteor exploded over Chelyabinsk, injuring more than 400 people. Well, this is scary, isn't it? Aliens and their megastructures. Now this one might sound completely stupid, but astronomers really did find something strange enough to start the debate. In 2015, scientists studying a distant star called Tabby's star, also known as KIC 8462852, noticed something unusual. The star's brightness kept dropping in a way that made no sense. It wasn't the normal dimming you see when a planet passes in front of a star. Sometimes the light dropped by 22%. To understand how strange that is, imagine Jupiter crossing in front of our sun. Even a planet that large would only block about 1% of the light. Something much bigger had to be interfering with Tabby's star. One idea that quickly caught attention was the possibility of a giant alien structure. The physicist Freeman Dyson once suggested that advanced civilizations might build massive machines around stars to capture their energy, often called Dyson spheres. Most scientists now suspect clouds of dust or swarms of comets, but the mystery hasn't disappeared. And what Donald Trump said, aliens might be real. Space junk. Now, the most dangerous things in space are not always exploding stars or invisible radiation. Sometimes the danger comes from our own garbage. Since the space race began in the 1950s, humans have been leaving debris in Earth's orbit. Old satellites, panels, metal fragments, bolts, and even rocket parts are still circling the planet at incredible speeds. Astronomers call it orbital debris, but let's be real, it's just junk. Today, millions of pieces of man-made debris surround Earth, and more than 30,000 objects larger than 10 centimeters are big enough to track, and the number keeps growing every year. Even tiny fragments are dangerous. These objects travel at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour, fast enough to punch straight through a spacecraft. The problem became far worse in 2007, when a destroyed satellite broke into thousands of pieces. And sometimes, pieces of this junk fall back to Earth. Most burn up, but not all of them. Thanks for watching, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. See you in the next one.